Good evening, sinners. Welcome to the Church of Peaches Christ. I was raised Catholic, very Catholic. Catholic school with nuns and priests. The kind of Catholic where guilt is not an emotion, it's a lifestyle. Every thought is a sin, every pleasure a trap, every Sunday a reminder that somewhere above the clouds there was a man with a beard keeping receipts. And as a young queer kid in a church that said I was broken, I learned something very early. If someone is going to weaponize a name to control you, you take the name back. Yes, that is how Peaches Christ was born. Yes, Peaches Christ, me. A drag queen named after the Son of God and a fruit cocktail. Because if the church was going to tell me I was going to hell, well, I figured I might as well run the place. But here's the strange thing about growing up religious. You hear the stories, you memorize the sermons, you learn the scripture, and eventually you notice something. The Jesus that I was taught about was very clear about a few things. He fed the poor. He walked with sex workers and outsiders, and people the world had already decided were disposable. And when rich men turned faith into profit, he flipped the tables. And yet, somehow, 2,000 years later, the loudest people screaming the name Christ are the same ones writing tax cuts for billionaires, the same ones blessing private jets while children sleep in cars, the same ones telling the poor that suffering builds character, while the rich build space programs. Now listen, I'm not a theologian. I'm a drag queen. I'm a filmmaker, maybe an artist, and an aspiring cult leader, which frankly puts me in roughly the same credibility bracket as most television evangelists. But there is one verse I have never been able to forget. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now listen, I've seen some rich men, and if that verse is true, well, heaven must be a camel traffic jam, right? Because the richest people on earth today, well, they're not just rich. They are emperors with stock portfolios, kings with tech platforms, oligarchs with Wi-Fi, and they have chosen sides. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, Peter Thiel. Even the gay billionaires have decided they would rather sit at the table with kings than stand with the people who fought for their right to exist. Being queer does not give you a hall pass to become a villain. Evil in a Patagonia vest is still evil. So here's the scam. We are told these people are geniuses, job creators, visionaries, but what they actually are landlords of the future. They own the platforms. They own the networks. They own the infrastructures our lives now run on. And we? Well, we are the product. We are the labor. We are the unpaid interns in the algorithm. We build the roads. We fund the schools. We pay the taxes. And companies like Amazon and Walmart use the infrastructure like a buffet. They eat everything and pay nothing. Then turn around and shame their own workers for needing food stamps. Yeah, $1 trillion company whose employees need food stamps. That's not capitalism, that is feudalism with an app. Okay, and here in San Francisco, we've watched it happen in real time. A city that once nurtured artists, misfits, queers, dreamers. It became a playground for venture capital vampires, where a one-bedroom apartment costs more than my Catholic guilt. But every election cycle, we're told the same story. Work harder, be patient, trust the system. But the system, it's not broken. The system actually is working as designed, because when billionaires can buy elections, when corporations write the laws, when oligarchs fund the politicians who regulate them, you don't have a democracy. We don't live in a democracy. You have a monarchy with better branding. And if I'm being honest, that realization, it's actually been quite painful, because for most of my life, I believed in the promise of the Democratic Party. I voted, I donated, I knocked on doors. I believed that if we could just work hard enough, we could push it toward justice. But somehow, along the way, the party of the people started taking the same checks. Corporate Democrats standing on stages talking about equality while cashing the same donations as the billionaires they claim to oppose. And yet, at some point, you have to say it out loud. If you take the money, you serve the money, right? If you protect the system, you become the system. And the truth is, oligarchy does not care which party wins. Neither one. They don't care. So tonight's sermon is called Eat the Rich. But before anyone panics, it's not necessarily about violence. It's about accountability. It's, the concentration of wealth we're living through right now. It's incompatible with civilization. There are 8 billion people on Earth. No one needs $1 billion. $1 billion, it's not success. $1 billion is policy failure. Every billionaire is proof that something in our social contract has collapsed. Healthcare, housing, education, labor rights, all sacrificed at the altar of infinite growth. And here is the twist. The richest people in the world love quoting the Bible. They love Christmas photo ops. They love prayer breakfasts, speeches about family values. But if the Jesus I learned about came back today, he would not be invited to Davos. He would be organizing an Amazon warehouse. He'd be flipping tables on Wall Street. He would be standing with workers, with migrants, with queer kids, with the poor. And the powerful, they would call him dangerous, just like they did the first time. So what do? Refuse the myth that billionaires are inevitable. Refuse the lie that greed is genius. Refuse the idea that democracy must kneel before wealth. Organize, unionize, tax them, regulate them, vote like the future depends on it, because it does. We can't afford billionaires. Not in a civilized society, not in a democracy, not on a planet that is literally on fire. So, if the richest people on Earth continue to choose power over humanity, then the rest of us must choose each other, because the real miracle was never wealth. The real miracle has always been people. Workers, neighbors, communities, standing together and refusing to bow. So tonight, from the pulpit of the Church of Peaches Christ, I offer this final scripture. Blessed are the workers. Blessed are the renters. Blessed are the weird, the queer, the broke, the furious. And when we say eat the rich, we're not talking about teeth. We are talking about appetite. An appetite for justice. An appetite for dignity. An appetite for a world where no one hoards the bread while the rest of us starve. Because if the billionaires insist on treating the world like their private buffet, then maybe it's time the rest of us set the table. And trust me, when the people finally sit down for dinner, the rich will not be on the guest list. They will be the main course.